We're in Matthew today. Matthew chapter 20, verses 17 to 34. Matthew chapter 20, verses 17 to 34. There are a few conversations that I really love having. I love talking with people about Jesus and their need for him. I love it when people... Wait a minute, there's a mosquito. Got it. Sorry. Okay, I don't know if anyone knows this, but somehow this week we got an infestation of mosquitoes in the church. We don't know how it happened, but there was millions downstairs. You would walk into the bathrooms and it'd be covering the walls. You'd flush the toilet and like this swarm would come out. It was insane. I'm grateful for the gals put some zappers. I'd be up here working on my sermon, thinking about things, and all of a sudden from downstairs I would hear a and like probably 100 mosquitoes dead right then. Most beautiful sound in the world. So most of the mosquitoes are now gone. Dean took the vacuum cleaner this morning and was like going around downstairs and sucking up the few that were still remaining and flying around. So not only can he split cards in half, but he can kill a mosquito in mid-flight. Right? So if you see any mosquitoes, you can kill it. It's okay. It'll be fine. We'll just keep going. Okay. So I love talking to people about Jesus. I love it when people come up to me, and before I even get to them, and they come up to me and they say, "Can you tell me about Jesus and how I can know him?" Those are awesome conversations. Few and far between, but they're great. I love it when people who are already followers of Jesus Christ come and ask me, "Hey, Pastor, how can I grow in my faith?" Love those conversations. Great. And we go into the office and we talk about things, and I give them books from my awesome bookshelves, and it's amazing. And I love conversations when faithful men and women come up to me and say, "How can I serve? How can I serve the church? How can I serve the community? God has given me so many things. I just want to give back to him. How can I do it?" Those are awesome, awesome conversations. Unfortunately, each one of these conversation topics are very few and far between. So many people are focused on so many other things. But those things, such as activities, busyness, lists, all these things, goings and comings, that we're all focused on, don't change people's lives for the better. They don't. In fact, so many things that we're focused on move us away from what we should be focused on, and they make our lives worse. They don't fill the need that we perceive we have. The only thing that fills that need is Jesus and imitating him. And that's what the disciples are learning in this passage. What does it mean to imitate Christ with their lives? So let's read our passage, shall we? Matthew chapter 20. Verses 17 to 34. Matthew 20, 17 to 34. Now Jesus was going up to Jerusalem, and on the way he took the 12 aside and said to them, "We are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be delivered over to the chief priests and the teachers of the law. They will condemn him to death and will hand him over to the Gentiles to be mocked and flogged and crucified. On the third day, he will be raised to life." Then the mother of Zebedee's sons came to Jesus with her sons, and kneeling down, asked a favor of him. "What is it you want?" he asked. She said, "Grant that one of these two sons of mine may sit at your right and the other at your left in your kingdom." "You don't know what you're asking," Jesus said to them. "Can you drink the cup I'm going to drink?" "We can," they answered. Jesus said to them, "You will indeed drink from my cup, but to sit at my right or left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they've been prepared by my Father." When the 10 heard about this, they were indignant with the two brothers. And Jesus called them together and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. As Jesus and his disciples were leaving Jericho, a large crowd followed him. The two blind men were sitting by the roadside, and when they heard that Jesus was going by, they shouted, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us." And the crowd rebuked them and told them to be quiet, but they shouted all the louder, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us." Jesus stopped and called them. "What do you want me to do for you?" he asked. "Lord," they answered, "we want our sight." And Jesus had compassion on them and touched their eyes. Immediately they received their sight and followed him. Today, we're going to see that the king came to serve, and so we should as well. Will you pray with me? Father, thank you that we can know you because of your compassion on us, that you looked at us miserable, miserable creatures, and you had compassion, and you drew us to yourself, and you gave us light and the ability to reach out and grasp a hold of your hand and be lifted from darkness and despair to your glorious presence. And that is such a great thing. Father, I pray that you would help me, give me the strength I need to present your words. I pray that it would not be about me, but about you, that I would decrease and that you would increase. And may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, my rock and my redeemer. Thanks, Father. Amen. The king came to serve. The disciples didn't understand this fact at all. Today in America, 21st century America, we are used to teachings about servant leadership. I've been to a lot of different leadership seminars and classes. Some of them were Christian, some of them were not Christian. But it's interesting, across the board, whether they were Christian or not Christian, they all talked about servant leadership. The non-Christians were getting up there and touting all these things about how servant leadership is the best style of leadership, and it's because of all these different random statistics and facts and how you get it, blah, 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 blah. But they never actually got back down to the bottom of we have this concept of servant leadership because of Jesus and his teachings. They weren't willing to talk about that. A leader is supposed to be a servant. Jesus teaches in this passage about this, but when Jesus came, that idea was completely foreign. So when he tried to explain why he came, the disciples didn't understand because it was completely foreign. He has made 3 statements of why he came. This text, in our text today, Matthew 20, 18 to 19, contains that 3rd statement that Jesus made of why he came to earth. He says, "The Son of Man will be delivered over to the chief priests and the teachers of the law. They will condemn him to death and will hand him over to the Gentiles to be mocked, flogged, crucified. And on the 3rd day he'll be raised to life." The first time Jesus said that, Peter took him to the side and rebuked him. And Jesus turned to him and said, "Get away from me, Satan." The second time Jesus said that, nothing that drastic happened. The disciples kind of remained silent, but they were grieved, the text tells us. This 3rd time, there seems to be no response from them. The disciples are getting used to Jesus saying rather shocking things they don't understand, so they let it go, though they're wondering still in their mind. There's a shock there, but they're like, it's Jesus being Jesus. Jesus is trying to tell them that he came to earth for the purpose of dying. He loved his creation. He yearned to have a relationship with his creation, a relationship that we broke by choosing to go our own way instead of his. We should be the ones to come back and say, "I'm sorry, God, make it right." But we don't, we can't. Jesus came to us instead. The king came, not in judgment this first time, but he came as a servant to clean up our mess. He came to give us a gift. This is not the normal action of a king. This breaks the paradigm of what a king does. This is the action of a lover. The king, as a lover, coming and saying, "I yearn to be your friend, and I'm doing everything I can In fact, I'm fixing your mess. Will you come? Will you come? Will you come? After Jesus gives this statement of why he came, to be a servant, James and John convict their mother to ask Jesus to give them seats of honor in the coming kingdom, which seems completely out of place since Jesus has just said, I came to serve, to die. And James and John go and talk to their mother and say, hey, Mom, we don't feel like it would be good for us to do this, so would you do it for us? And Mom says, great, I love you kids, let's do it. And so she goes and tells Jesus, my kids are great, can you make them the best? And put them in the seats of honor. You know, every mom has this pull, probably. I'm a dad, I don't understand it. But Jesus explains his style of leadership in Matthew 20, 25 to 28, right after they do this thing that we'll talk about later. But he explains his style of leadership. He says, you know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. He blows the normal paradigm of leadership out of the water and explains that the leader is the one, should be, who is willing to clean the toilets, who's willing to take the worst tasks once in a while, who puts himself in the dangerous positions and says, I will take the bullets, who says, I will take the blame. If something happens, it won't go on you, it will go on me. The leader is the one who dies to himself so that those under his care will live. It's a little bit of what we talked about yesterday with the men, of what does it mean to be a man, to be a leader, to sacrifice so those under his care might live. This is what Jesus did as leader, as head. Paul explains this concept about Christ as head and the leader, and talks about all who take that role of leader and head in Colossians chapter 2, verse 19. That's a little too far. There we go. Talks about these people who are not following Jesus. And he says they have lost the connection with the head, from whom the whole body, supported and held together by its ligaments and sinews, grows as God causes it to grow. And he goes on and talks about the role of the head and the leader is that one who initiates nourishment, who initiates unity, who initiates maturity. Not who lords it over, but says, hey, I'm going to provide what is needed in our situation. This is how Jesus envisions it. It's not the role of the leader that the disciples are used to. So Jesus gives them an example from his life of what this servant leadership looks like, what it means to actually serve. They continue on their way from after talking with James and John and all that sort of a situation, and they go towards Jerusalem. And a large crowd is following them as they walk towards Jerusalem. And they go through Jericho, and they pass by two blind men who are begging on the street corner. And they're yelling at the crowd for Jesus to stop and heal them, have mercy on them. But the crowd says, wait a minute, Jesus is this nationally touring speaker. He's too important to stop for two little beggars who've been sitting there for who knows how long. They stink, they're dirty, they don't talk right, their teeth are all out of joint. It's not right. But Jesus, after the blind men shout louder, in Matthew 20, 32 to 34, Jesus stops and calls to them, what do you want me to do for you? Lord, they answered, we want our sight. And Jesus has compassion on them, touches their eyes, and immediately they received their sight and followed him. As king, he shouldn't have to trouble himself with these penniless beggars. As king, he shouldn't. But Jesus has compassion on them. That's what a leader does. As he initiates nourishment, unity, maturity, he looks with compassion on those under his care and serves them. Jesus healing these two blind men who call on him as Messiah, that's what they're doing. Jesus, Son of David, that's a messianic term. They're saying, we know who you are. We know what you've come to do. Have mercy on us. As he responds to their call, he shows a picture of his ultimate goal. He is the one, the King, Jesus, who reaches out to those who are spiritually blind, stuck in the darkness of sin in this world, and offers healing, sight, light to all of those who call on him as the Messiah. When we call on him, he doesn't demand anything. Jesus didn't look at those two blind men and say, "Come, can you give me something? What will you do for me if I restore your sight?" He doesn't do that. He looks with compassion and he heals them. When we reach out to him and say, "I know you're the Messiah. Save me. Have mercy." He doesn't demand anything. He doesn't require any work. He doesn't require any payment because we can't pay anything. We can't do enough to earn what he is giving us. Instead, he reaches out and he serves us. He gives us sight in our spiritual darkness. Later on, we're going to see Jesus in the upper room, and John records for us in the night before he dies that he wraps a towel around his waist, and he gets down on his hands and knees, and he washes the feet of his disciples, showing servant leadership. And he again talks to them about his followers need to serve just as he served. He cleans the dirt right off of them. It's a task that no one likes to do. Most people don't like touching people's dirty feet. If you do, there's some other things we got to talk about. Good. But what he is doing there, not only is he talking about servanthood, he is showing a picture of what he is about to do in a couple hours on the cross, where he dies and spills his blood to cleanse us from all unrighteousness, the dirt of our soul, to purify us that we might be able to approach God. The King came to serve. He stated it, he explained it, he illustrated it. Do we understand it, though? So many times we come and we sit in the pew and we say, yeah, I know. Yeah, I get it. But have you accepted what Jesus has done on your behalf? Have you done it? Or are you still trying to muddle through this life on your own, in your own power, refusing to allow the King of the universe to give you this gift, to cleanse you, to heal you, to save you? Have you accepted it? If you haven't, you're stuck. You're stuck away from his light and his love and his mercy. It's not yours. But he reaches out his hand and says, "Will you accept my service on your behalf? Will you do it? Will you do it?" If today you say, "I want to," tell one of us. We'd love to rejoice with you. And we could talk about what it means to follow Jesus and to declare to everyone present here through baptism. And if you say, "Yeah, I've accepted Christ, but I've never been baptized, never made that next step to declare to the world I'm his follower," talk to me. To show the world that you've accepted that gift of salvation. The King came to serve. But if the King came to serve, we are called to serve as well. Right after Jesus predicted his death, as I talked about, James and John run up to their mom and say, "Hey, Mom, can you talk to Jesus for us? Because we're kind of scared to do this, so will you do it? And ask if we might sit in the most important spots in your kingdom." And so the mother goes and talks to Jesus in Matthew 20, 21 to 22. "What is it you want?" he asked. And she said, "Grant that one of these two sons of mine may sit at your right and the other at your left in your kingdom." And Jesus says, "You don't know what you're asking. Can you drink the cup I'm going to drink?" And James and John answered, "We can." They had no idea what they were saying. They didn't know that the cup Jesus was talking about was the cup of suffering, that he was going to die on the cross. That was the cup. God's wrath poured on him, how he was going to suffer and ultimately die there because of all the sins weighed down on him. They were just focused on being the top. being the greatest. So, Jesus cuts to the quick. Before the rest of the 10 disciples jump James and John and string them up by their toenails, Jesus tells them the passage we read before, but he makes a statement on how his disciples are supposed to live. He says in verses 25 to 28, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Indeed, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many." Jesus declares that just as he, the king, came to serve, so we, his followers, are sent to serve. What does this mean? Well, let's rewind the passage a little bit and talk about an explanation of what that means. After Jesus asks the disciples whether they can drink the cup of suffering or not, they respond foolishly that they can, and Jesus says, "You will indeed drink from my cup. But to sit at my right or left hand is not for me to grant. Only the Father can say." Those places of greatness cannot be given, but that isn't Jesus' focus. That's an after thing that he's talking about. His focus is on how the disciples will drink from that cup of suffering. They will be servants. That cup of suffering is not the price that is paid for Christian greatness. It is the price that is paid for following Christ at all. That cup of suffering comes as we stand for Jesus. The moment we say, "Jesus, I want to be your follower," he gives us a cup to drink. And that cup is not a cup of wealth. That cup is not a cup of health. That cup is not a cup of greatness. That cup is not a cup of applause of men. That cup is a cup of suffering. Because as we say, "Jesus, I want to follow you," we are then called to get up from the knees as we've repented and to stand for him. And to say, "I am a follower of him, no matter what other people think. I am going to follow him. I am going to stand for truth and speak truth, even if those around me say that I'm a horrible person for doing it. I am going to stand and do it." And as I follow Jesus, and as I stand and speak truth, I then turn around and love all those people who are against me. We take a cup of water and we offer it to our opposition, the one who has tried to undermine us at every turn, the one who has tried to kill our character, the one who has hurt those we love, and we love him back. The person who has said so many horrible things about the person that we really, really like, we love him back. The cup of suffering. Paul writes about this in Galatians chapter 5, verse 13. He says, "You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge afresh. Rather, serve one another humbly in love." We use our salvation in Christ Jesus to serve those around us in love, valuing them more than ourselves. We serve everyone. What does this look like? Well, we have an example in Jesus. Matthew 20, 27 to 28. Jesus says, "Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many." Jesus did the ultimate service. He died that we might live. He did it for those he loved, but those who loved were those who considered themselves his enemies. He didn't do it for his friends. He didn't do it for those who were treating him right. He didn't do it for those who were blessing God. He died for those who spit on him, who pulled out his beard and his hair, for those who cursed God and called on him to die the most miserable death possible. Those are the ones he served. He did it. But he didn't just serve in that point. But his whole life was a service of illustrating what he was about to do. As he washed his disciples' feet, as he healed the blind men, as he ate with tax collectors, sinners, and all the people that society kicked out, as he rowed boats in the middle of horrible storms so that he can seize one more opportunity to tell the disciples about how amazing God is, as he visited homes that probably weren't the nicest to visit. In fact, most people wouldn't want to step within 10 feet of that door. He talked with the proud and the hypocritical religious bigots at a service. He spoke truth, yes, and people didn't like it when he spoke truth. But as he did it and around he did it, he invested in relationships with all these types of people that most of us probably wouldn't want to have anything to do with. And he reached out to those people and he gave them dignity. And he provided what those people need, even though everyone else said they're not worth your time. Don't you know what they are? Don't you know what they believe? Don't you know what they said? Don't you know how they voted? We are to follow in Jesus' footsteps. We're to follow in his footsteps. Every year, we do a great job with this at Operation Christmas Child. We pack shoeboxes as a church. We pack more shoeboxes than lots of small churches do. Our goal is 100, I'm praying. We blow through that. And it's great. It's a service to people around the world, and it takes sacrifice for us. Sacrifice in finance, sacrifice in time. It's great. We do it. Every year, we do a good job. We're known as a church. If there are cookies and bars to be made, people turn to us because they say, we'll do it. It doesn't take much to make cookies and bars, but it's a way of showing service to people in the community. We're known as a church that gives things away, like Bibles and Christian material, like solid quality Bibles and Christian literature. And most other churches have fundraisers and said, will you give us money so we can do the base things? And we say, no, we're going to give. We don't want your stuff. We're giving to you. That's service. But are we doing all that we can do? Those are things that we do as a church. But let's talk individually. Are each one of us doing everything that we can do as we imitate Christ in service? Personally, are you known as someone who serves? Someone who has a desire to reflect Jesus through our humility and our relationships? Is that who you are known as? What you are known for? I know there are several people in our church who will say yes to anything. If I walk up to them and I say, will you do this? They will look at me, and some of them will say yes with a grin on their face. Some of them will squirm in their seat, but they'll still say yes because they just have to. They know what service is, and they probably need to start saying no so that their current service doesn't deteriorate. If that's you, we can talk. Right now, I am not talking to you. I'm talking to the others. People who are caught up in their schedules, in their priorities, in their dreams, in their misconceived perceptions of what is right to spend their time with and what is wrong. And because of all those misconceived things, they come to opportunities of service and they say, no, I don't have time for that because I'm stuck with all this other stuff. Are you serving? Are you known as someone who imitates Christ with your life? There are 3 areas, if I can step on some people's toes a little bit more. I noticed there were not any tomatoes out in the foyer, so no one's going to throw them at me today. There are 3 areas that we could talk about following Jesus in service. The first is with finances. Finances. Every couple of years, I do some calculations. And if everyone who attended our church semi-regularly tithed what they come in, and I don't believe the Bible forces a tithe on us. This isn't a thing of legalism. I was just like, what's a number out there? So I picked 10%. If every single person in our church who attended semi-regularly gave 10% of their income, we would double the operating budget of this church. And think what we could do in our community. the service we could perform if we pooled our resources, if we made friends with the money that God has given us. If we said, God, this is what you've given me. I'm going to serve you with it. Take it. What would happen if we served with our finances? But finance isn't everything. We need to serve with our time. Sometimes I look at my calendar or my clock, and it seems like that's what it looks like. Like I'm going through this warp zone. I'm like, how am I going to fit everything in it? There are great people in this church who do most of the work in this church. And they give up their time over and over and over and over again. And I'm grateful for what they do. They give up their time continually. But others need to suffer a little bit and give up some of their time and offer to serve. And to say, yeah, I'm going to tithe with not just my finances, but I'm going to tithe with my time. And I'm going to carve a little off and say, Jesus, this is yours. How can I serve you with it? How can I serve on Sundays? How can I serve during the week? How can I serve in the church building? How can I serve outside of the church building? How can I serve in the community? How can I serve people I know? And Lord, force me and help me serve people I don't. May I sacrifice for you. Not only should we serve with our finances, serve with our time, but we need to serve with our giftings. I'm not talking about the things that we're going to give in a couple months. Christmas can't come soon enough. Every single one of us has been given something, some talent, some passion, some gift by God. Something that we're given to use to help others, both within our church and within our surrounding community. These things are given so that we can edify fellow believers, so that we can show unbelievers the gospel through our actions as we lovingly serve them. And the thing with these giftings, these talents, these passions, most of the time, we will not use these gifts unless we actively seek to use them. It's easier for us to find a chair and sit in it and allow someone else to serve us. That's the easy thing to do. And we've got this backpack on our back with these talents and these passions and these giftings, spiritual gifts, that's sitting there, closed. And we're just sitting there. But we got to get up. We got to take the backpack off, unzip it, and start using them. We got to serve so that we can imitate Christ. And through that, people gets to see the gospel. But they won't unless we start serving them. Are you doing it? Are you doing it? This week, I encourage you to take some time in your busy schedule, carve it out to sit alone and ask God how you can serve. Specifically, how you can serve with your finances, how you can serve with your time, and how you can serve with your giftings. And once you take that time to pray and seriously ask God, come and let's have one of my favorite conversations. And we could talk about how to put that into practice, how you can imitate Christ as a servant. Once a month, we get to celebrate the fact that Jesus didn't stay sitting